Welcome back to another episode on Anxiety Doesn't Own Me podcast. My name is Emmanuel Isaacson. I'm an anxiety coach who has struggled with anxiety disorder for over 3 years and now have been anxiety free for over 9 years and now help other people that are struggling with anxiety to overcome theirs in a natural way. On today's episode, what we're going to be talking about is how to stop Googling your symptoms. I know this is a hard one. I know that we are addicted in a way to Google our symptoms every time we have, let's say, for example, a headache, or we start feeling heart palpitations, or that we start Googling signs for cancer. And whatever it is, we start picking at what we see over there as if we have that medical issue. And I know a lot of people with health anxiety. When I had health anxiety, I used to do this all the time. And what would happen, as you know, is 99% of the time my anxiety would increase. It wouldn't help my anxiety. And I'm like, oh my God, I have this. Like every time I would Google, for example, my lower abdomen pain, because I used to have a lot of pain over there, right away it would say, one of the reasons could be that your appendix might be infected. And right away, I would think, oh my God, I'm going to die. I got to go to the hospital. So that's what I would do. I would go to the hospital right away because I feel, hey, maybe it's my appendix over there because it'd be on the right side. And that's where the appendix is. So every time I would just go to the hospital, they would check me out. They would do the ultrasound, I think it would be the CT scan. And they would say, hey, everything's fine. They would push down on my stomach. Like, does this hurt? Does that hurt? I'm like, no. And they're like, listen, your appendix is fine. There's nothing wrong. And I'm like, no, maybe you check again. Maybe you do a blood test, something. Because I'm like, I'm having pain and nobody has an answer. And Google, I'm thinking in my head that Google said that it might be something wrong with my appendix. So every time that would happen, and every time I would have a headache, I would think right away, I'm like, hey, why do I have a headache for such a long time? Boom. I don't want to say what it is because I know it's going to start, you're going to start having thoughts about what it is. But it would be a negative thing. So no matter what I would Google, every time I wouldn't get the relief that I was looking for. But for some reason, that I was still Googling my symptoms. I was still Googling. For what reason? And I've came to learn that the reason why we continuously Google our symptoms is because that there were a few times, that 1% where we found that relief, that it gave us that relief, so we became addicted to that relief. That's why I said Googling is an addiction whenever it comes to Googling our symptoms, because of those moments that we got whenever we did get the relief. But honestly speaking, how many times did we actually get the relief that we're looking for? Maybe a handful of times. But we became addicted to that feeling because it gave us that relief that we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that relief. This is why a lot of people go to the doctor. This is why a lot of people go to the hospital, to make sure to give us the relief that we are looking for and that we need. So they can calm us down and say, okay, you know what? It's not something serious. And even afterwards, let's say after Googling, or let's say after going to the doctor or hospital, what happens? We start saying oh, wait, it's something new now. Or maybe they missed something. Or maybe I didn't Google it correctly. Maybe my phrase, the way I phrased it out, wasn't the correct phrase. Maybe I got to ask it differently, because if you realize, whenever you ask Google, whenever you start searching, different results will come up whenever you ask it differently. So that also starts to pop up. And what happens? We're back at it again. We're going over and over and over again, and it's just a vicious cycle, and we can't break out. The question is, how do we do that? How do we break out of that cycle and stop Googling? How do we do that? Because again, it's not giving us the relief. So how can we find the relief that we need? This was not an easy thing for me to do. And it was difficult for me because whenever you're having a symptom, you're right away thinking that there's something wrong, that there's something medically wrong, and that you need help because you might die. But what I started to do is I said to myself, Emmanuel, you're going to push it out. You're going to push it off for 5 minutes. You're not going to Google it right now. Let's wait 5 minutes. Let's see what happens. I'm not going to Google it right now. I'm not going to say I'm not going to stop. I didn't say to myself, I'm going to stop Googling. I didn't say that. What I said to myself is you know what? Let's wait 5 minutes. The reason why I did that is because whenever I try to put resistance, what would happen is that I would put pressure on myself. It's like fighting with it. I cannot fight with my anxiety. You cannot fight with your anxiety. Your anxiety is stronger than you. So what can we do? What can we do? What we could do is say, you know what? Okay, listen, anxiety, it's not like we're not going to go check it out. We're just going to wait a few minutes. That's what it is. But then anxiety is like, hey, well, what if we don't have 5 minutes? I'm like, I think we have. Again, we have to talk back to the anxiety and acknowledge what it's saying and try to calm it down and tell it like, no, we're just going to give it 5 minutes. Nothing is going to happen. We're going to be okay. We are safe over here. It's fine. It doesn't mean because I have heart palpitation there's something wrong with my heart. You know that we already checked it out with a doctor and everything was fine, but let's give it a few more minutes. Or let's say with a headache, with a headache, right? For example, or we have problem breathing. We right away think that it could be cancer. Right away we think that, but we already went to the doctor and everything is fine. So you know what? Just give it a few more minutes and let's see what happens. Don't worry, we're going to check to make sure that we're going to be okay. Because I also want to live. In that kind of way. Again, we need to talk back. Again, in your own way of doing it. But this way, we're able to push it off. We're able to push it off. And what can happen in those 5 minutes is that maybe not the first time, but eventually what happens is that we start forgetting about it. We start thinking about something else. And it's like, oh, wait, I have to Google my symptom. It's like it's going to come back up. But whenever that does happen, we're going to push it off again in 5 minutes. So this is what I used to do with my cigarettes when I used to smoke cigarettes and I wanted to quit. And every time I wanted to smoke, I would always tell to myself, like, you know what, in 5 more minutes, I'm going to smoke. And whenever that 5 minutes came, I would say, you know what, in 5 more minutes, I'm going to go take out, a cigarette. And there were some times where I failed and I did go out to smoke. But there were some times I was pretty persistent and then eventually I forgot about it. That's what helped me out. So with the first thing, what we can do is, again, push it off for 5 minutes. And if you can push it off after 5 minutes, push it off again for another 5 minutes. You understand? That's one thing that we can do. Another thing that we can do is, if you realize that we are in a cycle, right? We're in a cycle. What happens is that we feel a symptom. We Google. Most of the time, it doesn't calm us down, right? So what happens? Our anxiety increases. So what we could do is tell ourselves, hey, listen, anxiety, I know you want to make sure that we are okay, right? But the thing is that every time if you realize we Google, we've increased. What the anxiety is going to come back, it's like, but what if this time it's going to get the relief? Because we had that before. He's like, yeah, but most of the time what happens is that we don't get that relief. We do not get that relief. So let's try to find a different way. We're going to go with the anxiety, you see? We are going to go with the anxiety. When I say let's try to find a different way in order to get our relief. Because that way we can actually calm down, because the Googling is not going to help us. This is something that I did. So I said to myself, okay, now how can we, and this is a big thing right here, how can we find the relief that we're looking for ourselves? By going to the doctor, that's not really going to be helpful, because if you realize, again, we're having that vicious cycle, again, going to the doctor, getting the relief, but anxiety comes back up because of what if it's something else, and what if they miss something, right? So that's not really giving the relief. So what we could do is give ourselves the relief. That's what we want to get to at the end of the day. We don't want to rely on something external, like Google, doctor, hospital. No, we want to rely on ourselves. So if we have, let's say, for example, symptoms, we can tell ourselves like, hey, listen, talk to ourselves. We have experienced these symptoms before, right? Nothing's ever happened. Nothing's ever happened. We went to the doctor multiple times. Everything came out to be fine. Yeah, but what if this time there's a mistake? What if this time this really is something else? It's like, you know what? I hear what you're saying. Let's give it about an hour. Let's see how we feel then. So that's what we can do. It's like, you know what? Give yourself an hour. Because we already went through this thing before. And everything was fine. Let's give ourselves an hour and let's see what happens. That way we can actually calm down. Again, we're not trying to stop the anxiety. Again, whenever we try to stop the anxiety, it's going to become much stronger than us. What we need to do is just go with it. Tell you know what, I hear you. I understand you. We're acknowledging the anxiety. I hear where you're coming from, but let's wait an hour and let's see what happens. It could be it's coming from a symptom of anxiety. It could be that, and most likely that's what it is. And going to the doctor is not really going to give us the relief, because we want at the end of the day is giving us the relief. That's what we want. So this way we can actually build. And of course, the first time doing this, you're going to feel anxious, but we need to do it over and over and over again. So you see, the self-talk really helps in calming ourselves down, in stopping to Googling things, in pushing off the Googling, in pushing off, let's say, going to the doctor, right? We can push it off in the moment. And I remember I was speaking to somebody who had health anxiety, and I remember they told me they woke up in the morning and they felt they had symptoms of anxiety. And he was nervous that there was some medical issue. And he told me, he's like, you know what I did? He's like, I just sat on the couch and I told myself, like, wait. He talked to himself. And he said, wait, let's give it a little bit of time. Let's see what happens. It could be just from anxiety. And he said to me after 30 minutes or whatever, how I think I was 30 minutes to an hour, the symptoms went away and he was fine. He was like, you see, it's just from the anxiety. It's not something health. He wanted to go to the hospital because he believed that there was something wrong. So you see, it's the anxiety, again, creating that reality, like, hey, what if something is wrong? See, we're listening to the anxiety because, again, our anxiety is there to protect us. But we can tell our anxiety, like, hey, I understand that you're trying to protect me. I understand where you're coming from. I understand that you're concerned. You want to make sure that we're okay because that's your job. But I'm telling you that we are okay over here. We are okay over here. We are fine. We are healthy. We want to talk back to the anxiety. Talk back to it. Don't just listen to the anxiety every single time. We have to stop listening to the anxiety. And whenever we're trying to Google something, our anxiety is telling us, oh, let's Google this to make sure that we are okay. But as you know, you need to tell to the anxiety, like, hey, as you know, we Googled this before. It made our anxiety worse. It made it worse for us. So there's no point. Let's try to find a different kind of relief. And this is where you can instill certain things like, for example, the breathing exercise to help you to calm down. Because, again, we want to calm down the anxiety. If we're able to calm down the anxiety, we will feel much better. We're able to shut off the fight and fight mode, and that will shut off all those thoughts and symptoms that we are experiencing. You understand? We can talk to the anxiety. Tell the anxiety, like, hey, you know what? Everything is fine over here. We've experienced this before, and everything came out to be fine. I went through this before. We've experienced this symptom before, and nothing bad happened. Like for me, with example, the lower abdomen pain, you know how many times I went to the hospital for that, where eventually I got sick and tired of going, and I think the doctors also, and I had to speak to myself and tell myself, hey, Emmanuel, you have experienced this pain before. It's going to go away. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. Everything is fine. You are safe. See, talking back to it, because that's going to help to calm down. When you calm down the anxiety, you shut off the fight and fight mode. You shut off the fight and fight mode. These symptoms and these thoughts go away. That's what happens. But again, it takes some time. It takes some time in order for you to actually get into that rhythm. It's not going to be from the day to tomorrow. And you might fail sometimes where you might catch yourself Googling. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Pick yourself back up and say to yourself, it's okay that I Googled. It's okay. I'm going to try again now to do it. I'm going to try to pick myself up again. And you might, again, first time, second time, third time, and then also on the fourth time, you might be Google again. Don't be hard on yourself. It's gonna be an up and down, but eventually you'll build up that muscle where you'll no longer when you will stop Googling. The last thing that you can do, and I saved this for the last, it's not the last thing that you can do, but for this episode over here that you can do, because I don't want to provide you with so much information, because then you get overloaded and you don't know which one to do and you'll forget what to do. So I wanted to provide you with a minimum amount so that way you can apply it. But this is, I believe, from the people that I deal with anxiety, is one of the hardest things is when it comes to, Googling or even stop going to the doctor, is accepting your symptoms. And I know that it's hard because we are afraid that it might be a medical issue. We are afraid that it might be something serious. And accepting is like, it's scary, which I understand. But it's one of the most powerful things that you can do in order to calm down your anxiety, because it shuts off your anxiety. That's what it does. And shutting off your anxiety, like I said before, takes away the symptoms. So accepting that you have, for example, a headache. So you know what? I have a headache. I just have a headache. Just going to feel it. Or let's say you have a lower abdomen pain. You know what? I just have lower abdomen pain. I'm just going to enjoy this. I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to feel it. That's all it is. Or when you have, let's say, problem breathing. You feel like you have shortness of breath and you feel like you may have problems with your lungs. You're just going to sit there and feel the symptoms, feel the what you're going through. This helps to calm down the anxiety. Again, you're not accepting the fact that you have issues. You're accepting your anxiety. You're accepting the feelings, what you're going through, because that way it will help you to calm down. And we can also minimize, because whenever we have anxiety, we amplify our concern of what we have. So if we have a headache, we right away think it's tumor, right? So what we could do is tell ourselves that I just have a headache. That's all it is. Or I just have lower abdomen pain. Or my breathing is just shallow. That's all it is. We want to minimize it. Because that helps us to calm down. But these are some of the ways that we can stop Googling and try to calm down our anxiety, because the problem isn't our symptom, it's our anxiety that's creating the symptom, and we need to focus on the anxiety in order for our symptoms to start going away. If you are looking for a natural remedy in order to help you to deal with your anxiety and help you on your journey to overcome it, I created Calmly CBD, where it specifically helps you to calm down your anxiety and panic attacks. And as well, it doesn't make you feel drowsy. It doesn't make you feel sleepy. And it helps you to just feel calm so you can actually do things throughout the day, like work, drive, go out, and do whatever you like in a more calmer state of mind, as well as not addictive or has any side effects or any withdrawals, which this way can actually help you to heal your anxiety and get you to the destination in overcoming your anxiety much quicker. You can click the link that's in the description. It would say Calmly CBD to place your order today. And then right now it's on sale for a limited time, where you can buy one and get the second one free. If you did like this episode, please click the like button and leave a 5-star review. The reason why I ask is because this way we're able to reach more people, and the more people that we can actually reach, the more people that we can actually help. Because my mission in this world, my purpose, is to help people to overcome and heal their anxiety naturally and show them that it's possible to overcome. Thank you guys, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.